and a very, very good evening to all of you. So, how are you all doing? I'm sure you're doing fantastically well. Well, today is Thursday, and it's time for Thursday for Toys with me, Hiran Bagadia, the admin of Parent Station from Baroda chapter. Yes, so today, what am I going to get in this Thursday for Toys? Well, I am not going to reveal before you answer me. So now I need you to answer. How do you remember the way to your friend's house? Or why do your eyes blink without you ever thinking about it? Where do deeds come from? You know what? Your brain is in charge of all these things and a lot more. So, in fact, if you see, our brain is the boss of our body. It runs the show and controls just about everything that we do, even when we are sleeping. But it's not bad that it looks like a big, gray, a wrinkly sponge, isn't it? But why am I talking about the brain so much? Well, today the toy that I have got for you is all about learning the anatomy of brain. Yes, with a fantastic toy. Look here, what do I have in my hand? I have the whole brain with me, and with this fantastic toy that is by Witty Brains. Witty Brain is a company, Witty Brain Toys is a company from Bangalore that is run by Miss Priyanka, and she has, given us this fantastic toy. And when I went through this, not only me, even my son enjoyed putting this together. So it becomes so easy when I have to teach my children. Yes, I shall be putting all the other details about Witty Brain at the end of the show. Okay, so now we know that the brain has so much work to do. It's just like the boss of our body, as I said. But the children, as they grow older, when they come to around grade 3 or grade 4, they're going to learn about the different parts of brain. And you can even teach it much earlier, not necessary that you wait till grade 3 and grade 4, right? So the brain has many parts that work together, and we are going to talk about these five parts. Yes, can you see it is divided into one, the two, three, four, and five. All the five parts of the brain that we are going to talk about, and how the child is going to learn using this fantastic material that is given by Witty Toys, and what are the things that the children are going to remember by using this particular toy or the material? Let's check. So now we know that the brain is actually the three main key players of the brain team are our cerebrum, okay, the cerebellum, and the brainstem. So if you see this entire portion, the pink, the green, and the yellow, okay, the pink, the green, and the yellow are the part of our cerebrum. They are the part of the cerebrum of the brain, okay. Then here comes our cerebellum, okay. Sorry, the cerebellum is here, and this is the cerebellum, and the orange is the cerebellum here, and this blue thing over here is the brain stem. So if you see, these are all the main three important parts of the brain. So now these parts are further divided, especially the cerebrum. Now if you see the cerebrum, it is the biggest part of the brain, isn't it? The pink, the green, the yellow, and the purple, all of these four parts, they are the layers, the lobes, as we call. Now, what does the cerebrum do? The biggest part of the brain is the cerebrum, and it helps in thinking part of the brain. It controls our voluntary muscles, the ones that that you want them to move, right? You want to walk, you want to dance, you want to kick a ball. So, who is helping all of that? Yes, it's the cerebrum. The cerebrum. So we need cerebrum even to solve math problems. In case we are playing a video game, then how to play the video game, right? If you want to draw a picture, if you want to remember both short term and a long term memory. So when I say short term, it's just like, before few days what had happened. That is about a short term memory, and the long term memory, that is, what you did years before. So to remember that, we need the cerebrum. The cerebrum also helps us to reason, like when you figure out better to do the homework, right? Then now if you see, the cerebrum is divided into two halves. We know that one is called the left brain and the other is called the right brain. Well, the right half helps you to think about the abstract things like music, colors, shapes, and the left is more about the analytical thinking, helping you think about math, logic, and speech. Okay, so the scientists do sure know that the right half of the cerebrum controls the left side of our body and the left half controls the right side. Now, as I said, the surface lobes of cerebrum. So let's understand the surface lobes. Now, what all is there? So if I open this, now here they are seeing only the parts of the cerebrum, the cerebellum, and the stem. Okay, but what all they do? So if you see here now, I'm talking about the frontal lobe. Yes, can you all see this frontal lobe? Now, what all is there in the frontal lobe development part of the cerebrum? Okay, so the main function of the cerebrum, the frontal lobe, is cognitive thinking, such as reasoning and problem solving. So, if you see, they have given this, you know, to show this is for to show the intelligence. Okay, so I can just place it back over here. So, what the children are going to do, this is like a puzzle over here, this is like a maze over here. The main things what the part of that brain does is shown here. Okay, then this portion also helps in motor development. See, so for motor development, you can see over here there is movement, that is written over here, movement. Okay, and I am going to show. Yes, so you can see the movement over here. It also helps, with memory, as I said, the short term and the long term memory, both. So over here, they have given about the memory. And of course, it also helps with our to understand emotional behavior and our impulse control. And hence, can you see this? It shows about our behavior. So, this is all the part of our frontal lobe. This is still the surfaces of the cerebrum. So, the child knows, and it's going to fit only over here. So, the child knows that what happens in the frontal lobe. We have about the emotions, we have about the intelligence, the movement, isn't it? So all of these are the part of our frontal lobe. Now let's see the next one. So this is our parietal lobe. Okay, so this is also called the middle part of the brain. Okay, so now if you see in the middle part of the brain, it helps a person to identify objects. Okay, so I can understand this relationships. Okay, the spatial movement that I was talking about, the spatial relationships. So see this, I can understand the shape, the sizes, the color, all of this is a part of the parietal lobe. Okay, it's also involved in interpreting pain. So whenever you get hurt and you are in pain, so can you see the bandage over here? The bandage over here is to show about the pain. So it is our parietal lobe where you actually feel the pain, so that it becomes, same with with this material, it becomes so easy to know the anatomy of the brain, isn't it? And also, now what is this? Now when you see the hand over here, what does this mean? This means it is the touch. Yes, so the parietal lobe is also having touch. So what are the three things that, the major things that we understand that is there in our middle part of the brain, that is the parietal lobe? We understand about touch, we understand about the spatial relationships, we also understand about interpreting pain or the touch in the body. Okay, so here I'm going to put this back. All right. Okay, no, I'm going to show you more about it. The next part of the cerebrum is the occipital lobe. Okay, so if you see in the occipital lobe, it is mainly the back part of the brain. It is the back part of the brain. We call this the occipital lobe as the back part of the brain. So over here comes that most of the things that is involved with vision. You can see the eyes put up here so the child can see. Okay, so under this occipital lobe, we have the vision part over here that helps the child, okay, to understand, and even with the colors, because with the eyes you look at the colors, isn't it? You interpret the colors, right? So these are the two important things that the brain does with our with the occipital lobe. Then comes our temporal lobe. Okay, the temporal lobe, now these is the side of the brain. but it has a lot of things, especially when it comes to memory, and then it comes to speech, okay, when it comes to the sense of smell, even your hearing. All these is a part of the temporal lobe. So see here, language. So when I talk about language, this is all the part of our temporal lobe over here, which is still a part of. Then comes speech. All of these are the surfaces of the cerebrum. Okay, this is for the speech, this is for our non-verbal information. Remember the non-verbal information, and of course it comes with the hearing as well, right? So now these were the different lobes. We have the frontal lobe, the parietal lobe, the temporal lobe, and the occipital lobe. Now these were all the the surfaces, the surface lobes of the cerebrum. So all this form, this entire, so if you see the major portion of the brain, the major portion of the brain is made of cerebrum. See this entire part. So it becomes so easy to explain to children and for children to understand. Sometimes what happens when we are just talking about the topic and the child is only left to their imagination that okay, now this must be the part of the brain and this is how it must be working. So it is just left to their imagination that how it will all be. But when this material, when this toy is kept in front of them, it becomes so easy for them to understand that what are the different parts of the brain and what functions they do, right? Next up is our cerebellum, isn't it? So now the cerebellum, we call it as this is the back of the brain, that is below the cerebrum. This is the back of the brain, and of course it is much smaller than the cerebrum. So we saw that the cerebrum was the biggest of all, and the cerebellum, okay, so this is a little smaller than this is quite smaller, actually not little, it's a lot smaller than cerebrum, but it is the most important part, again another important part of the brain. Now why? Because here, can you see what is given over here in the cerebellum? It's this is for our balance. Yes, this is for our balance. So in case if you are riding the riding your cycle, your bicycle, or if you're skateboarding, or if you're surfing, right? Then what we need to do, we need to learn to balance, isn't it? So all of this, who helps in all of this? The cerebellum is going to help in all of this, right? It also helps with the coordination. It also helps with the coordination. So if you see here, this part, it helps with the coordination too. The coordination means it with the other parts of the body. The coordination that I mean is the other part of the body where the they are going this part is going to help, and hence it is said that the cerebellum, it is very important part of our brain, because it helps you to control your balance, your movement, your coordination. That is how your muscles are moving. Your muscles are telling your bones to move. So all of this is the part of our cerebellum. Now the next one that is there is the brain stem. Okay, now if you see, the brain stem is the smallest part, but it is the mighty, but it is mighty. Okay, so the brain stem, it sits below, all the other parts were on the little top, right? The cerebrum was in the front, the cerebellum was at the back of the brain, of the skull, and now we have the brain stem. So it sits beneath the cerebrum and in front of the cerebellum. So it connects the rest of the brain. Okay, that is the rest of the brain over here. See, the rest of the brain, this much part. Okay, to whom? To the spinal cord, which runs down our neck and our back. So the brain stem is actually in charge of all the functions of the body that needs to stay alive, like breathing air. See, breathing air here. Can you see the lungs over here? Very important. It helps in breathing. Okay, it helps in our movement of our brain, the involuntary muscles, that is our heart and stomach. Can you see the heart over here? Very important for us to stay alive, isn't it? That's what I said. The stem helps to control our involuntary muscles that work automatically without even you thinking about it. Okay, so that is your heart, that is your stomach. Okay, and it's the brain stem that tells your heart to pump more blood when you're either running, or when you're riding a cycle, or you're doing any kind of an exercise. It also tells our stomachs to start digesting once we start eating food, isn't it? So the brain stem also sorts through millions of messages that the brain gives the rest of the body and sends back and forth. Whew, I think it's the big job of being the brain's secretary. I think that is what the brainstem does, isn't it? So, if you see all of these things, everything, all the parts of the brain are very, very important. But what function each part of the brain does becomes so easier when I have this material kept in front of me, isn't it? So, look over here. I have my brain stem that I can place over here. Okay. I have my cerebrum that I can place it over here. And then I have my frontal lobe that I am placing here. And then comes my parietal lobe, my temporal lobe, and my occipital lobe. So simple to put it across together, right? It's so easy to put this across. And now, in case if I have to ask the children what are the functions that your frontal lobe does, so just looking at the pictures over here, it becomes so easy for them to understand what each part of the brain does. So if you see my parietal lobe, this is where I get, I feel when I'm hurt. This is where I feel the touch, isn't it? Then we saw the occipital lobe, where it helps me with the vision. It is very important again. So every part of the brain is important. My temporal lobe, which helps me with my language, with my hearing, with my memory, my both the short-term memory and the long-term memory is what it helps in, right? And then we saw our cerebrum, the cerebellum, which is at the back of the brain. It helps with our balance, isn't it? And then we have the brain stem, which is like the secretary, as I mentioned, of our body. And it is helping, tell all the involuntary muscles to work, because we don't think about the involuntary muscles, right? They are doing their job on their own. That is our heart, our stomach. They all are doing their work on their own, isn't it? Even our breathing, all of that is happening. But who is giving the instructions to them? That is our the brain stem. So if you see all of these are very, very important. All the parts of the brain, of course, are very important. And how a child is going to learn so easily with um, with this material, and it doesn't even cost much. It is made up of wood. It is a very good material that is used over here, okay, to make this toy. A very nice material, I must say. It is rupees 600, and if you want to place an order, I am just going to put the number of witty brains toys, and you can contact Miss Priyanka, whose number is, I am just typing, it costs rupees 600 if you want to place your order for to learn the anatomy of the brain. Then this is what you need to place an order with Witty Brain, Miss Priyanka. And you can contact her at 812-3275-730, or you can even leave a message on our comment section, and we will help you connect with Miss Priyanka. So This is a fantastic material which you all should be having when you have to teach the different parts of the brain. When we are teaching the parts of the body, we show the children the different parts of the body, isn't it? Hands, they can see all of these things. But what about the parts that are inside? They cannot. It is just left to their imagination, isn't it? But when we have a material like this, it becomes so easy for the child to understand the different parts of the brain or the different parts of that particular body, and to understand the function. Okay, so we can connect with the Witty Brain Toys with Miss Priyanka to place an order for this. And it is a wonderful, wonderful material. It is made out of wood. um, it is of natural material. It doesn't have any toxic paints. They take care of all of these little things, and it comes in a wonderful packaging as well. So you can connect with them and let me know in the comment section how you enjoyed today's Thursday for Toys session, where we learned the different parts of the brain and their functions, isn't it? It was so simple. Don't you wish our teachers also taught us with this fantastic material? It would have been so easy for us to understand each and every part of it. Why? Because children understand. See, whenever we are teaching or whenever we want to give any information to the children, it is nice when the children can actually feel on their own, isn't it? So they are using all their senses. I've always talked about multisensory. So they're listening to you, they're even saying the words along with you, plus they are seeing. So there's visual skills, there's your auditory skills, you're using your the speaking skills, and plus they are doing it along. So there's a kinesthetic skills that you're also using, or the tactile skills that you're using to understand any topic that you want to teach the children, right? So I hope you have all enjoyed this Thursday for Toys with me, Hiran Bagadia. So I'm signing off right now. Until next time, when I'm going to bring you another fantastic toy, which or a material, as I call them, and which is going to help your children learn something with ease, any concept, right? So, thank you very much for being a part of today's show, and I will see you all soon. Take care. Bye bye.